In the midst of quiet streets, signs of distress, and the news of the times,
They all need help right now.
there were moments that made us smile. The past 2 years have been so unkind in so many ways, but it has brought out the fight to survive and, in some cases, to thrive. Local businesses have taken the brunt of so much thrown at us, from the pandemic and windstorms to fires and drought. With all that, it is important to remember and reflect on what's new, good, and what's ours, what's local, and what we love. This is a 30-minute celebration of our restaurants that have kept us fed and our nonprofits that feed our spirit. Artists and merchants who show their pride and allow us to be fans of our favorites. And we can't forget the farmers who have gone beyond the field and created a connective and collaborative effort to grow. This is Love Local. Hi, I'm Laura Papetti, and we begin this special by talking about some of our favorite things here in the Inland Northwest. We love our coffee, our food, and maybe most importantly, we love our pets. Our first business tonight, it combines all those things together. There is no doubt that during the lockdown, we've craved connection. While many restaurants had to pivot to a new style or format to make it through COVID, some restaurants went different right from the very beginning. And one that has not only survived, but thrived is a Spokane cat lover's dream. The Kitty Cantina opened in May of 2020. It was challenging just to get the approval to open a cat rescue coffee house, but then dealing with COVID as well. However, the locals have loved getting a cup of joe with their dose of pets and purrs, which has resulted in a celebrated new business. And then on top of having a popular hangout for cat lovers, the business has also won a national contest to help support a favorite local shelter, Spokane. It was among the top 10 finalists for Greater Goods Charity's annual Feline Foster Heroes contest, which honors people in the community that open their homes and their hearts to homeless cats and kittens. The Cantina got a $5,000 grant to help even more animals from the local shelter.
We're partnered with them, so they support us, we support them, and just helping animals in Spokane.
So if you want to stop by for some coffee and maybe some cuddles, possibly adopt or foster a cat or a kitten, now you know where to go, the Kitty Cantina here in Spokane. Well, as you can see from the Kitty Cantina, businesses are getting pretty creative, and that includes this next one from Coeur d'Alene. The venue mimics a show that was on over 30 years ago, making it very quirky and very memorable. Our photojournalist Dave Summers takes us inside Black Lodge Brewing.
I have always been a huge Twin Peaks fan since I was young. I was always into David Lynch. I think the first movie I ever saw was Blue Velvet, and I became obsessed. We had originally purchased a brewery that didn't work out, but we knew from the get-go that this was what we wanted to do, and we knew we kind of toyed around with different things like Damn Fine Brewing and I don't know. So we decided that we would go with Black Lodge, and then we found this place. It was already painted black, and it just all kind of came together. Currently, I manage a prosthetics and orthotics practice. I've been doing that for the last 9 years. Before that was all service industry related, whether it be bars, restaurants, coffee. I'm much more a people person than a office person, so it's a little bit, this is more my forte. This is where I thrive. I have been homebrewing for 20 years on and off. I started before I was of age because you could buy materials, but you couldn't buy beer. I made a bunch of really, really terrible beers, and then as I got older and matured some, I actually made beer that tasted great, and just I fell in love with the science of it once I understood what was going on, and that part has always been cool to me. We are a small brewery. We're on a one-barrel system. Right now we have 3 one-barrel fermenters, and we have the capacity to add up to 8 total, so our goal is by summertime to build on and just start cranking through all kinds of, more traditional styles, more, fun kind of current styles, and then also just experiment with some things that I've always wanted to make. Our first release, I believe, will be a Kolsch and then I think a New England IPA. The name for the Kolsch will be Agent Gordon Kolsch, and then the IPA is still to be determined. So when there's something that you love and you feel like you can pay homage to that, how cool is that? This is where I'm happy. We've met so many awesome people, and it's just like I've been in tears at different times throughout it. Just people are so excited that we're here. They think the inside's beautiful, and we worked. My husband built every single thing in this place, and so it's really cool.
Connection comes in all forms, and that can include honoring our heritage. KREM 2 spent May honoring Asian American and Pacific Island Heritage Month. We are highlighting DeBali Asian Bistro in Spokane. The restaurant offers Southeast Asian comfort food, and our very own Tim Pham got the chance to interview the owner, Mama Jeannie, on her favorite dishes.
I made a dish that shares my family's taste and preference, and also this dishes is our customers' favorite noodle dishes too. And no one else doing dishes in our area, so it is too special to hear how so many people now love it too.
That was Mama Jeannie sharing the love of her culture right here in the heart of Spokane. To see the full interview, you can head over to KREM 2's YouTube page. If you have a favorite local business that you'd like to share with all of us, post it on social media and tag KREM and hashtag it #LoveLocal. And while so many places are relatively new, there are some restaurants here in Spokane that have been around, it seems like, forever, and they've become part of the region's DNA, like the Skyway Cafe out in Felts Field that's been around about 100 years and has become a favorite for one local family and part of their weekend ritual. The Skyway Cafe is 100 years old, a small restaurant with its own curbside appeal. The cafe is nestled next to the runway at Felts Field, and it's about the closest thing you can get to flying without actually getting into the plane. It's also a place where you can have your favorite foods while watching a never-ending air show.
I just love the atmosphere, flying, the aviation, the people, and the food.
Sandra Melton is the captain of the ship, or to bring it into restaurant terms, she owns it. She's been running the Skyway for 10 years. But like just about everything inside the cafe, there's a story behind the story.
It all started when my mom used to bring me here for ice cream when I was a little girl. And then my mom started cooking here in the 80s and cooked for 17 years. And then my sister owned it for 10.
The restaurant is family for many of the regulars, people attracted by the aviation heritage and hooked on the famous home-cooked fare. People like CJ Amistoy, who is part of the Skyway story.
It was 10 years old, really, when I started coming here, and it was, every weekend, sitting here by the windows, enjoying this beautiful view.
CJ and his father shared a love of aviation.
When we found this little place, it was just so much fun.
His father's picture hangs in the restaurant, a reminder of a pilot that loved to fly and loved to bring his son to a place that was as much about a community as it was about food.
I used to get a grilled cheese sandwich and he'd have his pot roast special.
CJ's father died in a plane crash in 2015, not far from where his picture now hangs. But the shared love of aviation spans into the next generation. CJ now brings his 13-year-old son to the Skyway, continuing the tradition and supporting the future. Like most restaurants, the Skyway continues to be dramatically impacted by the ongoing COVID crisis. First, it closed for 2 months. Then the second closure lasted for about 4 months.
I tried to do a little to-go orders, but we're not a to-go order place.
The restaurant reopened at the end of February, determined to take off again and continue its 100-year run.
Lots of sleepless nights.
But all is not the same.
We had 28 employees, and now I think I have 10 because a lot of them didn't come back. Just the cost of gloves have gone up from $58 to $400 for a box of gloves for a restaurant. How many eggs do you have to sell at 8 cents a piece to pay for a box of gloves?
Melter says she is determined to keep going, but admits it's not easy. For customers, the restaurant represents more than a meal, so reopening was a relief.
It just makes you feel comfortable, makes you feel connected to something.
The old photographs, the donated medals, the aviation history all silently sits amidst the changes, much of it having been through other tough times. The restaurant has withstood world wars and recessions, and Mildred says she's doing her best to withstand this latest challenge. And when it's part of your family, shutting down doesn't seem like a viable option.
Keep doing what we're supposed to be doing and everything will be better.
Spiceology went through a pivot. We made the decision that we needed to focus 100% of our energy on consumers. Love local means exactly what it says. It's supporting your local businesses and helping them grow, helping them create more jobs, and building a more vibrant Spokane and Inland Empire.
Live, learn, love local. Visit KREM.com for a local business directory and enter to win a gift card to a featured local business. STCU proudly sponsors Love Local.
Well, if you weren't able to go see the Seahawks and cheer on the team in person, no worries. It doesn't mean you can't sport the gear, something made right here in the Inland Northwest. Ian Smay explains how the Spokane-based clothing brand is expanding now into professional sports.
When Joel Barber started Spokane-based lifestyle brand the Great PNW in 2013, he thought he might hear from the Seattle Seahawks.
You know, it's one of those things I always thought, oh yeah, you know, we'll probably collab with them eventually. This is like when I first started the company, and was I surprised with the email? Yeah, absolutely. I was like surprised.
Before the 2021 season, the NFL team wanted to partner with the Great PNW for licensed merchandise. After narrowing their list of 20 designs down to 6, the beanies, hoodies, and other merchandise went live on the Great PNW's website. It was also in the Pro Shop at Lumen Field in Seattle.
For business-wise, it was really great. It exposed a lot of people to our brand that may have never heard about us. You know, we shipped about 7,000 units all over the country, and which is really cool. It's cool to see Seahawks fans all over the place.
Barber says a certain character on the Seahawks gear was a fan favorite.
But Sasquatch, there's just something about Sasquatch. We put it on a graphic, and it tends to do really well.
The season may be over, but Barber said they've already had conversations with the Seahawks about continuing their partnership next year. He also hopes that this first venture into the professional sports world won't be the last for the Great PNW.
I think I'd love to work with the Sounders or the Mariners would be a dream, you know, the Kraken. It'd be awesome, you know, work with the Seahawks again. You know, that relationship, those doors are still open. We've talked about Portland Trailblazers with them. Same organization actually owns Sounders, Seahawks, and Trailblazers.
The Great PNW currently has a pop-up store in the River Park Square Mall. You can also still buy Seahawks gear on the Great PNW's website.
Local artists get to showcase their creations at a store that's basically made just for them. It's called From Here, and it's located in downtown Spokane, featuring local artists like Alicia Staggs, who creates the perfect pieces for Zag fans. The From Here store features about 105 artists who have a place now to showcase their creations, allowing them to practice their craft while others handle some of the business details.
So it's nice to talk with other people. It's nice to see Spokane embracing the locally made products and supporting all these local artists.
One local business is taking a stab at turning a passion into a thriving business. Our very own Nicole Hernandez has the story of the jumping jackalope.
You start thinking about it.
Miguel Tamburini hits the bullseye.
That's when you messed up.
Every time.
How much training does that take?
How much passion is that take?
His passion helped him beat the odds.
Coming from a third world country, in a household with only one single mom and you know, in a poor neighborhood, it's been going against the statistics all of my life.
Miguel moved to America, eventually becoming an axe-throwing professional.
I was #1 in the world for the first time in the winter season 2020 and in the winter season 2021 again.
#1 in the world after just a few years' experience.
This is, what I do. This is my dream. This is what I live and breathe.
Axe-throwing is his passion, and now his whole career.
Building this and building a business during the pandemic.
Miguel opened Jumping Jackalope in October 2020.
Until the governor went back to phase 1. And then we reopened the last week of February.
That February opening, for good. Business started booming inside. But outside,
but we sure miss Garageland,
Garageland closed down.
They closed, you know, the walking started going down and down and down. And then they started building this huge building right next to us. They take the whole street, so nobody knows that we are here. We have no walk-ins.
With no walk-ins, Jumping Jackalope is only relying on online bookings. Miguel's passion has gotten him through.
I'm on that phone, on that computer since 8 a.m. in the morning until 3 or 4, almost every day.
Growing his business.
This is the community's favorite venue award. Yeah, that's my
and winning awards.
Major accomplishment that I have.
Maybe not hitting the bullseye on his location, but definitely as a local business owner.
And the Jumping Jackalope has another location in Coeur d'Alene.
I love the farm corridor because it has already built so many friendships amongst the farmers.
We want our community to know where they can pick their local produce. They can just go to our website and they can find what they're looking for, and they can just go to one spot and pick what they want to do, and then they can go visit that farm.
They get to go explore and learn, and it's just really fun to build that community.
Love your food, love your farmer, love local.
STCU proudly sponsors Love Local.
Love Local is about supporting our local businesses, so we sat down with leaders of local and statewide agencies who are working to keep the doors open and the economy growing.
Over $27 million has already gone out, but there's much more available. The Working Washington grants, we're going to wait till after the legislative session to see what the focus, in case the legislature wants to focus our efforts in a certain place, and also to know just how large the funding's going to be. The governor has put it in his budget proposal and asked for another $20 million for the arts, for example. We'll see what the legislature does by the end of March, or hopefully by the middle of March when the session is scheduled to end.
Are you hopeful that those are going to play out as requested?
I am. I think there's bipartisan support. It's been across the state. I'm pretty confident that the legislature will include significant funds for another grant round in the next budget.
For downtown, you know, we've seen somewhere between 17 and 22 new businesses launch or in some stage of launching since COVID. Not only is that just like inspirational, I mean, it just gives me the chills just to think about, I mean, Lisa, you mentioned it earlier, when we think about the passion and you know, I call it grit, but when you see that taking place in the midst of a crisis, people are, you know, forging ahead and they're launching their dream. And what we're seeing is a net positive in downtown, believe it or not, in terms of business development.
We certainly have a huge segment of our workforce that's still sitting, you know, on the sidelines or not working at their full capacity because of the continued childcare challenges, both access and availability, the continued need to balance schooling of our children. And so as those things, you know, as we move through the pandemic, some of those things both stabilize and we're able to get more services available, we have a whole group of talent that we're going to need to work to bring back in. And there's some really cool opportunities for that. And so I think those are things I'm optimistic about and excited to partner with a lot of folks on as we think about talent attraction and retention and re-engagement.
Well, we certainly couldn't celebrate everything we love local without mentioning our local nonprofits doing so much to help so many people struggling, especially during the past couple of years. So we'd like to give a special nod to our partners and our friends at Vanessa Behan, of course, the local crisis nursery that helps so many kids and really so many families. They not only stayed open, kept their doors open during the whole pandemic, but they actually expanded their programs.
We knew that there was a lot of desperation out there, and we just had to be able to say yes to our families as much as we possibly could to try to mitigate some of the tragedy and the challenges that the pandemic have brought on.
Since school shut down in 2020, they have served over 10,000 kids, and of those, almost exactly 2,000 were 7 years of age or older. So what does that equate to? About 127,000 hours of care. And not only that, Vanessa Behan is partnering with other agencies to continue to expand their programs and continue to serve all the families here in our region. So we say thank you. Thank you to Vanessa Behan and to all the nonprofits for doing so much We love local and we love you. Thanks so much for joining us for Love Local, and don't forget to support your local businesses. For more information, join us always on KREM.com. Live, learn, love local.